Sorry.
Om Jnanam Timirandasya Jnana Jana Shalakya Chakshurananulitamena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manavishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swarupam Tada Mayam Dadati Sasapradantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Sagaradatam Sahagana Gunasavitam Tam Sajivam Sadhavetam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Dalita Shivshagavitam Cha नमः विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमति भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी नामिने नमस्ते सरस्वतीदेवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी सदेशकारिणे हे कृष्ण करुणा सिंधु दीन बंधु जगतपते गोपेश गोपेकांत राधाकांत नमस्तुते तप्त कंचन गौरांगी श्री राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये वंचाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिंधु एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवसदि गौर भक्तवृंद हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे। जय गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। स्क्रीन we will read from here. His place Ashwini Prabhuji.
Thus, out of many perfected spiritualists, one may know what Krishna actually is. As this verse indicates, the subject matter of Krishna is not so easy, but is very difficult. Yet Bhagavad Gita also indicates that it is easy. Bhakta mam abhijanati yavan yas chashmi tatvata tato mam tatvato gyatva vishate tat anataram. One can understand the Supreme Personality as he is only by devotional service, and one who is in full consciousness of the Supreme Lord, by such devotion, he can enter into the kingdom of God. If we accept the process of devotional service, we can understand Krishna very easily. Through it, we can understand the science of Krishna perfectly and become eligible for entering into the spiritual kingdom. If, as Bhagavad Gita says, after many births we have to eventually surrender to Krishna, why not surrender to him immediately? Why wait for many births? If surrender is the end of perfection, why not accept perfection immediately? Of course, the answer is that people are generally doubtful. Krishna consciousness can be attained in 1 second, or it cannot be had even after 1,000 births and deaths. If we choose, we can immediately become great souls by surrendering to Krishna. But because we have doubts whether or not Krishna is actually the Supreme, we have to take time to dissipate these doubts through study of scriptures. By studying Bhagavad Gita under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, we can remove these doubts and make definite progress.
Thank you, Vijay. Deepak Prabhu.
Yes, Shoji. It is a fire of knowledge that burns all doubts and fruitive activities of ashes. Sri Krishna gives the following information of the results of inquiring of the truth from one who has actually seen the truth. ये श्लोक भी पढ़ने हैं?
Yes, Vijay.
यज्ञान्त्वा न पुनर्मोहम् एवं यशस्वी पाण्डव येन भूतानि शेषाणि द्रक्ष्यस्य आत्मनि अथो मयि अभिचेद असि पापेभ्यः सर्वेभ्यः पापकृत्मः सर्वां ज्ञानफलवनेव वृजिनं सन्त्रस्यसि यथा ते यथेदांसि समितोऽग्निर्भस्मात् कुरुते अर्जुन ज्ञानाग्नि सर्वकर्माणि भस्मासात् कुरुते तथा. And when you have thus learned the truth, you will know that all living beings are parts of me, and that they are in me and are mine. Even if you are considered to be the most sinful of all sinners, when you situated in the port of transcendental knowledge, you will be able to cross over the ocean of miseries. As a blazing fire burns firewood to ashes, O Arjuna, So thus the fire of knowledge burns to assess all the reactions to material activities. Bhagavad Gita 4.35 to 37.
Okay. Issue proof.
The fire of knowledge is ignited by the spiritual master, and when it is ablaze, all the reaction to your works are turned into ashes. The reaction to our work or our karma are the causes of our bondage. There are good works and bad works. And in this verse, the word Sarva Karmani indicates both. For one who wants to be liberated from this material bondage, the reaction of both good works and bad works are necessary. In this material world, we are attached to performing good works. If we were situated in the mode of goodness, if we were in the mode of passion and ignorance, however, we do bad work in passion and ignorance. But for those who are working to Krishna consciousness, there is no need of good work or bad work. By good work, we may get a good birth in an aristocratic or wealthy family, and by bad work, we may take a birth even in the animal kingdom or in a degraded human families. But in any cases, birth may means bondage, and one who is striving for Krishna consciousness is striving for liberation from the bondage of transmigration. What is the advantage of being born in a wealthy or aristocratic family if one does not get rid of his material miseries? Whether we enjoy the reaction of good work or suffer the reaction of bad, we have to take on the material body and thereby undergo the material miseries. Hare Krishna.
Anushka Mataji.
Hare Krishna. By engaging in the transcendental service of Krishna, we actually get out of the cycle of birth and death. But because the fire of knowledge is not burning in our minds, we accept material existence as happiness. A dog or a hog cannot understand what kind of miserable life he is passing. He actually thinks that he is enjoying life, and this is called the covering or elusive influence of material energy. On the Bowery, there are so many drunkards lying in the street, and they are all thinking we are enjoying life. But those who are passing them by are thinking how miserable they are. That is the way of the illusory energy. We may be in a miserable condition, but we accept it thinking that we are very happy. This is called ignorance. But when one is awakened to knowledge and he thinks, oh, I am not happy, I want freedom, but there is no freedom. I don't want to die, but there is death. I don't want to grow old, but there is old age. I don't want diseases, but there are diseases. These are the major problems of human existence, but we ignore them and concentrate on solving very minor problems. We consider economic development to be the most important thing, forgetting how long we shall live here in this material world. Economic development or no economic development, at the end of 60 or 100 years of our life, will be finished. Even if we accumulate $1 million, we must leave it all behind when we leave this body. We need not to come to understand that in the material world, whatever we are doing is being defeated by the influence of material nature.
Kanak.
We want freedom and we want to travel all over the world and all over the universe. Indeed, that is our right as spirit soul. The spirit soul in Bhagavad Gita is called Sarvgata, which means that he has the ability to go wherever he likes. In the Siddh Lokas, there are perfected beings or yogis who can travel wherever they want without the aid of airplanes or other mechanical contrivances. Once we are liberated from material conditioning, we can become very powerful. Actually, we have no idea how powerful we are as spiritual sparks. Instead, we are very much satisfied staying on this earth and sending up a few spaceships, thinking that we have become greatly advanced in material science. We spend millions and millions of dollars constructing spaceships without knowing that we have the ability to travel wherever we want free of charge. The point is that, sorry, Hare Krishna.
The point is that we should cultivate our spiritual potentials by knowledge. The knowledge is already there. We simply have to accept it. In former ages, people underwent so many penances and austerities to acquire knowledge, but in this age, this process is not possible because our lives are very short and we are always disturbed. The process of this age is the process of Krishna consciousness, the chanting of Hare Krishna, which was inaugurated by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If by this process we can kindle the fire of knowledge, all of the reactions of our activities will be reduced to ashes and we will be purified. Yeah, yes, absolutely.
नाहि ज्ञानेन सदृशम् यहीं से पढ़ना ना
Yes, Prabhu.
नाहि ज्ञानेन सदृशम् पवित्रम् इह विद्यते तस्स्वयं योग संसिद्धः कालेनात्मानि विन्दति. In this world there is nothing so sublime and pure as transcendental knowledge. Such knowledge is the nature fruit of all mysticism, and one who has achieved this enjoys the self within himself in due course of time. Bhagavad Gita 4.38. What is that sublime and pure knowledge? It is the knowledge that we are part and parcel of God and that we are not to dovetail our consciousness with the Supreme Consciousness. This is the purest knowledge in the material world. Here everything is contaminated by the modes of material nature, goodness, passion, ignorance. Goodness is also a kind of contamination. In goodness, one becomes aware of his position and transcendental subjects, etc. But his defect is in thinking, now I have understood everything, now I am all right. He wants to stay here. In other words, the man in the mode of goodness becomes a first-class prisoner and becoming happy in the prison house, wants to stay there and want to speak of those in the modes of passion and ignorance. The point is that we have to transcend even the quality of goodness. The transcendental position begins with the realization, I am Brahmasmi. I am not this matter but spirit. But even this position is unsettled. More is required.
Deepak Prabhu.
Yes, Prabhuji, sorry. ब्रह्मभूता प्रसन्नात्मा न शोचति न काङ्क्षति समः सर्वेषु भूतेषु मद्भक्तिं लभते परम्. One who is thus transcendentally situated at once realizes the Supreme Brahman. He never laments or desires to have anything. He is equally disposed to every living entity. In that state, he attains pure devotional service unto me. Bhagavad Gita 18.54. In the Brahma Bhuta stage, one no longer identifies with matter. The first symptom of one's having become established on the Brahma Bhuta platform is that one becomes jolly, Prasannatma. On that platform, there is neither lamentation nor hankering. But even if we rise to this stage and do not take to the loving service of Krishna, there is the possibility of falling down again into the material world pool. We may rise very high in the sky, but if we have no shelter there, if we do not land on some planet, we will again fall down. A simple understanding of Brahma Bhuta states will not help us unless we take to the shelter of Krishna's lotus feet. As soon as we engage ourselves in the service of Krishna, there is no longer any chance of falling down again into the material world. Thank you, Guruji.
Issue Prabhu.
Our nature is such that we want some engagement. A child may commit mischief, but he cannot refrain from mischief unless he is given some engagement. When he is given some toys, his attention is diverted and his mischief activities stop. We are like mischievous children, and therefore we must have spiritual engagement. Simply understanding that we are spirit soul will not help. Understanding that we are spirit, we have to sustain the spirit by a spiritual engagement. It is not uncommon in India for a man to give up all the material engagements, to leave his home and his family and take the renounced order, sannyasa. And after meditating for some while, doing philanthropic work by opening some hospitals or engaging in politics. The hospital making business is conducted by the government. It is the duty of the sannyasa to make hospitals whereby people can actually get rid of these material bodies, not patch them up. But for want of knowing what real spiritual activity is, we take up the material activities.
Oh,
By By becoming perfect in Krishna consciousness, knowledge and wisdom are found in due course of time. There may be some discouragement at first, but the word kalina meaning in due course of time indicates that if we simply persevere, we will be successful. Faith is required, as stated in the next verse.
श्रद्धा वल लभते जन्म तत्परः सम्यरति जन्म लभता param satyam achirinda gichati. A faithful man who is absorbed in transcendental knowledge and who subdues his senses quickly attains the supreme spiritual peace. Bhagavad Gita 4.39. Hare Krishna.
For those who are hesitant and have no faith, Krishna consciousness is very difficult. Even in our daily affairs, a certain amount of faith is required. When we buy a ticket, we have the faith that the airline company will take us to our destination. Without faith, we cannot even live in the material world. What to speaking of making spiritual progress? Where are we to keep our faith? In the authority. We should not book our ticket within an authorized company. Faith must be in Krishna, the speaker of Bhagavad Gita. How do we become faithful? Control of the senses. Samyatendreha is required. We are in the material world because we want to gratify our senses. If we have faith that a physician can cure us and he tell us not to eat such and we eat it anyway, what kind of faith do we have? If we have faith in our physician, we will follow his prescription for cure. The point is that we have to follow the instructions with faith. The wisdom will come. When we attain to the stage of wisdom, the result is param santam, supreme peace. Krishna indicates that when one controls the senses, faith comes in the near future, achirena. Having attained that stage of faith in Krishna, one feels that he is happiest man in the world. This is our position. We have to accept the formula and execute it with faith. The faith must be in the supreme authority, not in the third class man. We must search out a spiritual master in whom we can have faith. Krishna is the most authorized personality, but anyone who is Krishna consciousness can be accepted as a person fully in Krishna consciousness as the bona fide representative of Krishna. Having tasted the words of Krishna's representative, we will feel satisfied, just as we feel satisfied upon eating a full meal. Yes, Prabhuji.
Agnischa shraddhadanascha samsatmo vinashyati nayam lokosti na paro na sukham samsha yatmana. By ignorant and faithless persons who doubt the revealed scriptures do not attain God consciousness. For the doubting soul, there is happiness neither in this world nor in the next. Those who are hesitant in taking this path of knowledge have no chance. Hesitation is due to ignorance, agyanascha. For one hesitant in taking to Krishna consciousness, not even this material world will be happy. Then what do we speak of the next life? The material world is already miserable, but if one has no faith, it will be more miserable. Thus, for the faithless, the situation is very precarious. We may put thousands of dollars in a bank because we have faith that that bank will not close down. If we have faith in banks and airlines, why not have faith in Shri Krishna, who is acknowledged by so many Vedic literatures and by so many sages to be the supreme authority? Our position is to follow in the footsteps of great authorities like Shankaracharya, Ramanujacharya, and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. If we keep our faith by executing our duties and following in their footsteps, success is guaranteed.
Yes. As stated before, we must search out one who has seen the absolute truth, and surrender to him and serve him. When this is done, there is no doubt about one's spiritual salvation. Everyone is anxious to see God, but in our present stage of life, we are conditioned and deluded. We have no idea of things as they really are. Although we are Brahman and by nature jolly, we have somehow fallen from our constitutional position. Our nature is Sachidanand, eternal, blissful, and full of knowledge. Yet this body is destined to die, and while it is existing, it is full of ignorance and miseries. The senses are imperfect, and it is not possible to attain perfect knowledge through them. Therefore, it is stated in Bhagavad Gita that if we at all want to learn transcendental knowledge, we must approach one who has actually seen the absolute truth. Tad vidhi pranipatena. Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Traditionally, Brahmins are meant to be spiritual master, but in this age of Kali, it is very difficult to find a qualified Brahmin. Consequently, it is very difficult to find a qualified spiritual master. Therefore, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu has recommended Kiva Vipra Kiva Nyashi Shudra Kene Naya Ye Krishna Tattveta Se Guru Haya. Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela 8.128. Whether one be a Brahman or a Shudra or a sannyasi or a householder, it does not matter. If he knows the science of Krishna, he is bona fide spiritual master.
Bhagavad Gita is the sense of Krishna, is the science of Krishna. And we understand, and if we study it scrutinizingly with all our arguments, senses, and philosophical knowledge, we will come to know that science. It is not that we are submit ourselves blindly. The spiritual master may be self-realized and situated in the absolute truth to understand all the spiritual points. If one is able to factually answer the question about the science of Krishna, he is the spiritual master, regardless of where he is born or what he is, whether he is a Brahma, Shudra, or American, Indian, or whatever. When we go to a doctor, we do not ask him whether he is Hindu, Christian, or Brahmana. He has the qualification of a medical man, and we simply surrender, saying, Doctor, treat me, I am suffering.
Krishna Krishna is the ultimate goal of spiritual science. Of course, when we speak of Krishna, we refer to God. There are many names of God, for God throughout the world and throughout the universe, but Krishna is the supreme name according to Vedic knowledge. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recommended the chanting of Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, as the supreme means for realization in this age. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu did not make any distinctions as to caste or social position. Indeed, most of his foremost disciples were considered to be fallen in society. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu even appointed Haridas Thakur Muhammadan as Namacharya or preceptor of the holy names. Similarly, Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis, two of the Lord Chaitanya's principal disciples, were formerly known as Sakara Malika and Dabira Khasa, and they were employed by the Mohammedan government. In those days, the Hindus were so strict that if a Brahman accepted service from a non-Hindu, he was immediately ostracized from the Hindu society. Despite this, Rupa and Sanatan Goswamis were made principal authorities in the science of Krishna by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So there is no bar against against anyone. Anyone can become a spiritual master provided he knows the science of Krishna. This is the only qualification, and this science is essence and contained in Bhagavad Gita. As at the present moment, thousands of spiritual masters are needed to spread this great science throughout the world.
We should understand that when Krishna is speaking to Arjuna in Bhagavad Gita, he is speaking not simply to Arjuna alone, but to the whole human world race. Sri Krishna himself declares that simply by knowing the science of Krishna, Arjuna would not be subject to illusion. Yat janta na punar moham. If we have a very good ship, we can easily cross the Atlantic Ocean. At present, we are in the midst of the ocean of ignorance. For this material world has been likened to be a great ocean of nescience. Therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu prayed to Krishna in this way. I Nand Tanuj Kin Karan Patiramar Vishnu Vishwame Bhavam Badau Kripa Tadu Pada Pankaj Sachidadulat. O my Lord, O Krishna, son of Maharaj Nand, I am your eternal servant, but because of my fruitive activities, I have fallen in this horrible ocean of birth and death. Please pick me up from this ocean of birth, death, and fix me as one of the atoms of your lotus feet. Sikshashtakam 5.
If we have the boat of perfect knowledge, there is no fear. We can cross the ocean very easily. Even if a person is more sinful, if he receives the boat of the science of Krishna, he can cross the ocean very easily. As stated before, Bhagavad Gita 4.36, it does not matter what we were in our past lives, because we were in ignorance. We may have committed so many abominable actions. Indeed, no one can say that he is free from sinful activity, but according to Bhagavad Gita, this does not matter. After knowing the science of Krishna, one becomes free.
It is therefore absolutely necessary that we seek knowledge, and the perfection of knowledge is to understand Krishna. Today there are so many theories, and everyone claims to know the best way to live. Therefore, so many isms have developed for these communism has become very prominent in the world. But in Srimad Bhagavatam, we find the seed for spiritual communism. There, Narad Muni explains that in this material universe, whether one be in a lower, middle, or higher planetary system, or even in outer space, all natural resources are manifested by the Supreme Lord. We must understand that whatever exists in this world was not produced by any human being, but everything was created by God. No sane man can deny this. Shri Shopnadas explained, Ishavashyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita magita kastasvedani. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One must therefore accept only those things necessary for himself which are set aside as his quota, and one must not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Shri Shopnishad Mantra 1.
So,
Guru, we can stop and discuss.
yes, Prabhuji, yes. Okay, Prabhuji. So, can we start with you, Prabhuji?
So हम सुनते हैं कई बार स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ में भी कि कई बार नए लोग आते हैं, वो कहते हैं कि नहीं नहीं हम नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, देखिए ये तो फेथ का मैटर है थोड़ा सा। और बाहर के लोग भी कई बार कहते हैं भाई तो फेथ का मैटर है, फेथ ड्राइव्स एवरीथिंग, हमारा फेथ नहीं आ रहा है, हम क्या करें। तो इसलिए हम भगवान की भक्ति नहीं कर पा रहे हैं क्योंकि फेथ नहीं है अभी हमारा। तो ये बात तो सही है कि जैसे भगवान ने बोले हैं कि इस पाथ पर आगे बढ़ने के लिए फेथ चाहिए होता है, बट ऐसा नहीं है कि ये सिर्फ स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ में है। प्रभात बता रहे हैं कि मटेरियल लाइफ में भी फेथ के बिना आप काम ही नहीं कर सकते हैं। फॉर एग्जांपल, हम अगर मॉर्निंग में ब्रेकफास्ट कर रहे हैं और फैमिली मेंबर्स किसी ने, मदर ने, वाइफ ने बना के दिया है, तो हमारा फेथ है कि इसमें जहर नहीं मिलाया उसने। अगर हम रोड पे जा रहे हैं बस में, तो ड्राइवर पे फेथ है हमारा कि ये कहीं ठोकेगा नहीं। इसी तरह हम गवर्नमेंट के अंडर में है तो पता है कि गवर्नमेंट किसी दिन ऑर्डर नहीं करेगी पुलिस को कि जाओ इसको शूट कर दो। ये सब एक फेथ है हम लोगों का इस संसार में भी ड्राइव कर रहने का। हर पल पल पे वो फेथ ही है, हम अकेले वैसे भी कुछ नहीं कर सकते। नेचर पे, गवर्नमेंट पे, सोसाइटी में, आसपास सब फैमिली में, सब जगह हमारा फेथ काम करता है, मटेरियल लाइफ में भी। तो ये कहना कि भाई स्पिरिचुअल लाइफ में फेथ काम करता है, ऐसा सिर्फ ये इनकम्प्लीट होगा। Whether it is a spiritual life or material life, faith drives everything. But is it just a matter of reasonable faith or blind faith? For example, अभी यूक्रेन और रशिया में अगर लड़ाई चल रही है और हम चाहे बोले कि यूक्रेन में हम ऐसे ही रह सकते हैं जैसे इंडिया में रह रहे हैं पीसफुली, एंड इट इज जस्ट अ मैटर ऑफ फेथ, तो ये ब्लाइंड फेथ होगा। और अगर हम ये सोचे कि हाँ ठीक है, अमेरिका का हमें पता चला है थ्रू अथॉरिटीज दैट अमेरिका इज इन पीसफुल स्टेट, लेट्स गो एंड स्टे इन अमेरिका, then it is reasonable faith. Why? Because we heard from authorities. Similarly, spiritual life becomes blind when we go by our own mind. If we are following any path, that may be any path, not only bhakti yoga. If we are and even in bhakti yoga also, if we are following our own mind, then it is a blind faith. It will lead to blind faith. Then eventually we might become sahajiyas, as we see. But if we are going through scriptures and authorities following their instructions, then definitely there is there is a reasonable faith. Why? Because authorities are also following scriptures. We ourselves are following scriptures, and scriptures are the words of God. So that's our reasonable faith. That's the way we can drive in this material world and spiritual world. So that's one point from my side. I think others can share other points also. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yes. Ishu Prabhu, you want to share something?
Prabhuji, there are 2 points. First one is about good karma and bad karma. How Prabhupada is explaining that either we do either we do good work or bad work, we have to take the material body. So what we have to do the Krishna consciousness activity that does not fall under good and bad work. It is the spiritual activities done for the service of God to make him happy. So this is the first formula and to get out of the material life and out of this planet Earth and the cycle of birth and death. And the second thing what I've liked that Mahaprabhu telling about Guru Tattva, that someone is known the Krishna Tattva is speaking and explaining, preaching it, then you can consider him Brahmana. Either he come in any category, Shudra, maybe Kshatriya or Brahmana, it doesn't matter. Although we are all Shudras in Kali Yuga, but still if someone is speaking, so it doesn't matter he's American or Indian. It is the matter of the principle that he's teaching, that he's actually teaching the right thing or not about Krishna. Because as we can see, there are a lot of spiritual masters now. They are taking the name of Krishna, but they are teaching their own philosophies in the name of Krishna. They are showing Krishna at first, but at the back they are teaching something very different. And I've seen the live examples in my life, and that is how to speak about them. But yeah, that is wrong, and you should more introspect, and only introspection is done by reading by own and taking help of uh, all these students of these basically who is following the Krishna consciousness, and we have to find the right association. Yeah, that is what I have learned.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Prabhu. Deepak Prabhu, you want to say something?
यस प्रभु जी, हाँ जस्ट 2 पॉइंट्स हैं जो मुझे काफ़ी अच्छे लगे। जैसे कि प्रभुपाद जी बता रहे थे कि हम मटेरियल वर्ल्ड में कुछ भी अचीव कर लें, लेकिन वो माया के द्वारा लास्ट में डिफीट तो हो ही जाता है, मतलब माया के द्वारा सब कुछ छीन लिया जाता है लास्ट में आपसे। तो ये चीज़ हमें हमेशा याद रखनी चाहिए कि हम इतना भी प्रयास ना करें कि हम अपना मतलब जो रियल बिजनेस है वो ही भूल जाएं। जैसे ये मैंने गोपाल कृष्ण गोस्वामी महाराज के लेक्चर में सुना था। वो बता रहे थे कि हमको इतना भी मटेरियल चीज़ों के लिए प्रयास नहीं करना चाहिए जिससे कि हमारा बेसिक साधना ही ना हो पाए। यस, तो ये पॉइंट काफ़ी अच्छा लगा था। एंड सेकंड पॉइंट वो जी वो था कि जैसे कि जैसे सतयुग, त्रेता युग, द्वापर युग में वहाँ पे लोग क्या करते थे कि बहुत ज़्यादा ऑस्टेरिटी और पेनेंस इस तरह के एक्टिविटीज़ करते थे जिससे कि वो नॉलेज को गेन कर सके। लेकिन कलयुग में चैतन्य महाप्रभु आए और उन्होंने बहुत आसान कर दिया नॉलेज, मतलब नॉलेज लेने के लिए। तो उन्होंने हमें हरि नाम दिया जिसको हम चैंट करके हम प्योर नॉलेज, जो नॉलेज है हम उसको आसानी से समझ सकते हैं। तो यस, ये बहुत मर्सी है हमारे लिए, मतलब कलयुग में जो हम चैतन्य महाप्रभु का मतलब इतनी ज़्यादा मर्सी का हम फायदा लाभ ले सकते हैं, मतलब एक तरह से। यस,
Thank you. Thank you,
Prabhuji,
Prabhu.
that's my points. Yes.
Thank you so much, Prabhu.
Thank you,
Anushka
Prabhuji.
Mataji, you want to say something?
यस प्रभु जी। तो प्रभु जी बीच में प्रभुपाद जी बताते हैं कि जब हम माया में होते हैं तो दुख में होने पर भी हम ये सोचते हैं कि हम सुखी हैं। तो एग्जाम्पल भी देते हैं जैसे ड्रंकर्ड का, कि उनकी लाइफ ऑल्दो वो बेकार ही है, बट फिर भी वो देखते हैं कि लेकिन ड्रंकर्ड को कभी ये नहीं लगता कि वो गलत कर रहे हैं। इनफैक्ट उन्हें तो लगता है कि वो मॉडर्न है या वो एंजॉय कर रहे हैं या इस तरह से। बट और ये भी लगता है उन्हें कि जो भक्त हैं या जो भक्ति कर रहे हैं वो रूल्स में बंधे हुए हैं, कि वो फ्री नहीं है। तो प्रभुपाद जी बताते हैं कि फ्री तो कोई भी नहीं है, कि ये 4 एक्चुअल जो मिजरीज हैं जो प्रभुपाद जी बताते हैं कि ये तो सबके साथ ही हैं। तो और कोई भी इनका सबको अल्टीमेटली इनका सामना तो करना ही पड़ेगा, कोई भी फ्री कैसे हो सकता है? तो फिर तो लैक ऑफ नॉलेज है probably कि लैक ऑफ नॉलेज की वजह से है कि हमें लगता है कि हम फ्री हैं। तो निकलने के लिए तो हमें स्पिरिचुअल नॉलेज चाहिए कि वो इन 4 प्रॉब्लम्स में जो हम इन 4 प्रॉब्लम्स में फंसे हुए हैं, और ये 4 प्रॉब्लम्स जो हैं बेसिकली बॉडीली लेवल पे हैं। हम ये यानी हमारी जो स्पिरिट सोल है वो कहीं भी जा सकती है। ये भी बता रहे थे प्रभुपाद जी कि कहीं भी वो तो कहीं भी जा सकती है। तो नॉलेज ना होने की वजह से हम ये एयरप्लेन्स वगैरह बना रहे हैं और इसको भी एडवांसमेंट बोल रहे हैं कि, लेकिन हमारी जो पोटेंसी है वो इस सबसे ज़्यादा है। तो इसीलिए हम बोलते हैं कि स्पिरिचुअल मास्टर की हमें नीड है कि जो हमें नॉलेज देंगे बेसिकली कि हमारा रियल एम क्या है और ये एक्चुअल प्रॉब्लम्स को हम कैसे सॉल्व कर सकते
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Mataji.
हैं। थैंक यू।
Kanak, you want to share something?
यस, हरे कृष्णा। आज मुझे मतलब 2-3 पॉइंट्स बहुत अच्छे लगे प्रभुपाद जी के। तो उन्होंने मतलब एक कोट करा था कि इन द मोड ऑफ इग्नोरेंस वी हैव बिकम द फर्स्ट क्लास प्रिजनर्स। तो मतलब ही हैज क्लासिफाइड एज अस एज द फर्स्ट क्लास प्रिजनर्स, क्योंकि हम लोग इतने ज्यादा मोड ऑफ इग्नोरेंस में हैं कि वी थिंक कि वी आर फ्री एंड वी आर फ्री फ्रॉम दिस मटेरियल एंटेंगलमेंट, और हम उसी में फंसते जा रहे हैं। बट स्टिल we thought कि we are free and we don't have to be, we can't be the servant of anyone, हम लोग तो अपनी मर्जी के मालिक हैं and all that। ये सोचते हैं कि we are our own masters, but ऐसा कुछ भी नहीं है। we are untimely or in one way or the other is serving one another। then मुझे second point ये बहुत अच्छा लगा था, प्रभुपाद जी ने कोट किया था, we have to get rid of this material body, not patch them it up। तो people इससे हमें मतलब ये बहुत अच्छी वो बात मिलती है कि even though we are engaged in any kind of social activity, हम कोई हॉस्पिटल भी बना रहे हैं कि मतलब जो माना जाता है कि ये बहुत अच्छा है, बहुत अच्छी डीड है कि हम नीडी की हेल्प कर रहे हैं, बट स्टिल प्रभुपाद जी बोल रहे हैं कि हमें तो इवेंचुअली अपनी सोल को हील करना है, बट स्टिल वी आर पैचिंग द मटेरियल बॉडी, जो कि एक दिन खत्म होनी ही है। तो उससे मैंने ये रिलेट करा था कि आई एम नॉट दिस बॉडी, की मतलब ये जानना सिर्फ इनफ नहीं है, वी हैव टू वर्क अपॉन इट। सो दैट इज माय रियलाइजेशन। थैंक यू।
Thank you. I think everything has been already covered by the devotees. I just want to add one thing. If we have the knowledge, if we can understand the science of Kṛṣṇa, if we have the mercy of our spiritual master, if we try ourselves to maintain in the knowledge at all times, then we will be able to cross this ocean of nescience by the mercy of Guru and Gauranga. And yes, consistent efforts are required. So I think we should pray Kṛṣṇa every day, every moment, if we can try to give us remembrance of our real identity, and give us strength so that we can serve our lotus feet of Kṛṣṇa and our spiritual masters instructions. Yes, that's all from my side. Anything else anyone wants to add?
Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, thank you, Prabhu. We can stop here.
Panchakalpatarubhishya kripa sindhuvachya patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavabhyo namo namaha। Srila Prabhupada ki jai।
Jai.